FPL double game week 32 top transfer targets. In today's video, we're going to be answering some of those questions of who are the players we can reliably buy who actually might get minutes in the double in game week 32. We'll be talking about a few players you might be considering selling this week in the likes of Ismail Sarr, in the likes of Phil Foden, Savinho, and Cliver as well, amongst a few others. We'll be looking at defenders, midfielders, forwards. We'll be covering it all. Who should be owning for the double in game week 32, and of course with an eye on the double in game week 33 as well. What is up, everyone? FPL Harry here. Before we dive in, 2,000 likes is the aim. Subscribe if you are new around here as well. And I just want to add a little bit of a caveat and a timestamp at time recording of this video. So I'm recording about 87 minutes into the Arsenal-Real Madrid game. It is 3-0 to Arsenal. It looks like Bukayo Saka, well, he has gone off. Uncertain whether he was just a planned substitution. He did go off with a bit of a limp. I don't know what Arteta's comments are after the game. I don't know if we'll hear at all. But it's worth noting because of that. Of course, there's Champions League there. But a lot of the questions are revolving around players, particularly from Aston Villa this week. And they play Champions League on Wednesday. And I think we might see a load of rotation going into the weekend for Aston Villa. So players who play on Wednesday night for Aston Villa will then look like a real risk for the weekend. So we'll talk about some Aston Villa players, but do keep an eye on the lineup that they put out against PSG on Wednesday night. And probably a similar thing for Chelsea players as well, because of course they play on Thursday night in the Europa Conference League as well. So if you're looking at someone like a Cole Palmer, someone like a Colwill, someone like a Cucurella, of course, look how he goes through that game. Now, as a Chelsea fan, starting off with Cole Palmer, he didn't play this week against Brentford. We really struggled for creativity and goal threat without him. He is just coming back from an injury. I do think it was more just to manage his load rather than him being rested for the European fixture. I do expect him to probably get some minutes on Thursday against Warsaw, and I also expect him to start Ipswich at home. So if you've got him, he's definitely a keep, especially because players in and around his price, most of us own Salah. He's not returning particularly well at the moment. Bukayo Saka looks like he's gone off, and his chance of starting Brentford at home looks like it is at an all-time low as well. Phil Foden, again, went off early, and we don't even know if he's going to start Crystal Palace. So if you've got Palmer, he's definitely a keep for at least game week 32. And when game week 33 comes around, you'll probably look to move off him. You'll probably look to go to a Saka if he's available and if he's looking like he's going to play both in the double. But it is something to think about for the longer term with him. If you are going to Saka, and let's say Arsenal do get through against Real Madrid over the two legs, we're not certain that Saka's going to play every Premier League game when they've got a Champions League semi-final if they go and get through. So it might end up being that Palmer is a longer-term hold. He's definitely a hold this week. Next up is Sarr. So he did blank over the past couple of games, and I don't think he's had a single shot over game week 30 and game week 31. It is back-to-back doubles. Now, you're not really selling him unless you're probably looking to go and move to Eze. I'm not really sure it's actually worth the transfer. I do think some of these games that they've got coming up over the next 2 weeks actually might favour Sarr a little bit more with the sort of space and running in behind that Sarr is more favoured for, whereas Eze is better when they're trying to unlock a defence, which maybe they've had to do with Southampton and Brighton over the past couple of games. So actually, I'm not sure I would be moving Sarr to Eze despite how it looks over the past game week's points. Then we're looking at Manchester City. Foden, he didn't play any minutes against Leicester and then started and came off early in the game against Manchester United. Now, part of that early sub apparently was there was a slight knock he got in the first half, and then he limped off when he did get taken off in the second half. Savinho feels like he's more nailed. It was just a slight rotation. They played a really structured formation that didn't have any wingers on the pitch, and I think they were massively worse without him. So start with Savinho if you've got him. Definitely keep. I don't have a problem with him at all. Foden, I'm not massively worried too much, but it is his price that's more of a concern than anything. I think for the majority of us, we will be looking to bench Phil Foden this week anyway, and then we can review going into the double in game week 33 exactly where we go. The only issue is who would you be selling him for? Now, you could go to Savinho, you could go to a Morgan Rogers, but for example, if you go to Rogers and he's got Champions League, Southampton, Champions League, then the double in game week 33, and then an FA Cup semi-final, I just don't see that we think that there will be starts in all of those games for Morgan Rogers, and you expect him to start the FA Cup semi-final, and you expect him to start both the games against PSG. So I just look at Phil Foden, and if you've already got triple Palace and you've already got triple Newcastle, I just don't think this is really a week to go and sell him. I'd probably bench him if you can and try and gain a little bit more information. And the final one is Kluivert. Hasn't featured since the international break with what is apparently muscle fatigue. He has been pictured in Kirkiz's, I think his TikTok or Instagram story or one of them, being back in the gym, sort of doing a little bit of individual work. It doesn't look great. The upcoming fixture is not great, and Bournemouth are definitely not looking as good. Again, if you have triple Crystal Palace, you have triple Newcastle, and you can bench Kluivert this week, then you potentially can. But I'm not sure he'll be one you'll be looking to hold very much longer, and I think he'll probably go in game week 33 for most of us. So having a look at the fixtures and starting to think about some players to buy, what we're actually going to do is have a look at two different fixture tickers, because I know about 85% of you are free hitting in game week 34. So actually what this fixture ticker does is looks between now and the end of the season and has a look at who has the best fixtures, ignoring game week 34. So you'll see along the top, game week 34 is not included. So of course the teams with the double, Manchester City, Aston Villa, Crystal Palace, Arsenal, sort of Newcastle, very high up the fixture ticker there. So those are the teams you should be looking to target, of course, in the short term. Outside of that, though, if you've already got all of your doubles, where should you be looking? Nottingham Forest have a really nice run. Brentford as well, after they play Arsenal this week, have one of the nicest runs. I think particularly Nottingham Forest and Brentford are two teams that we really should be looking at. You've got Spurs and Man United quite high up there, but of course, they're still in the Europa League, and that will really be their focus. The only other one up there is Wolves, but again, we've got Cunha coming back. We don't know quite how they're going to set up. It looks like they're safe as well. So it looks like doublers. It looks like Nottingham Forest and maybe Brentford, and of course Liverpool going for the title are probably the teams we're looking to target at the moment. Then just very briefly, if you're having a look without the free hit, again, Nottingham Forest in particular playing in game week 34, Newcastle as well with a double, probably a couple of the teams alongside Brentford, probably the three teams you're really looking to actually buy if you're not playing the free hit in game week 34. It doesn't work, of course, because Brentford have a difficult fixture this week. But after that, as I said, Nottingham Forest, making sure you've got triple Newcastle. Then you're looking at Brentford as well. You could look to add Wolves. They become more important because they do have Leicester at home in game week 34. Whereas for those of us free hitting that week, we'll probably just free hit a couple of them in and we don't have to worry about them outside of that. But if you're not free hitting in 34, Wolves do, of course, become more important for that fixture. And having a look at some data and just going off on a little bit of a tangent, you might be seeing loads of content and just sort of discussion at the moment on Twitter about teams and football being more boring, particularly in the Premier League at the moment. And what you will see here is 14 of the 20 teams in the Premier League have attacking data, which is significantly down compared to their overall season data. And then if you look at the defense, 12 of the 20 teams have had defensive data over the past 6 significantly better than their season data. Again, just highlighting that the Premier League is not as exciting. We're getting less goals. We're getting less exciting matches. We're actually getting a lot less late goals as well. And teams are more worried about the number of fixtures they're playing. With all the congestion they've got, there's more rotation. Teams are just a little bit more concerned. Now, if you're having a look at some of the teams we're looking to target, you're having a look at Manchester City, Newcastle, Crystal Palace, Villa, for example, of course, all with their double, and Arsenal. They're all pretty much in the top half for attacking and defensive data as well. So there are options whether you're looking to invest in attack or defense. But I think it's worth noting that's why we're seeing a fair few game weeks. I think this game week in game week 31 was the lowest average score of the season in FPL. I think that's what I saw them tweet, which just highlights again, we can't be expecting 60, 70 points every week with a normal game week because teams are scoring less goals. Teams are defending better, although the clean sheets are a lot more difficult to predict as well. So it does mean that just because a player blanks doesn't mean we should be put off with them generally, because players are blanking, teams are blanking much more regularly now than they have done in the first part of the season. It's just something to note, but still the teams with the extra fixtures are still probably the ones I would go with. So having a look at some players to buy, and we're starting off with defenders, and I'm very excited to show you some new graphics that I've had made, and I'm very, very excited to show them to you. I hope it's a really concise way of talking about some players. So what we've got is basically my top 10 players, and we'll do this for a couple of positions, but we're starting off with defenders. We've got a few key bits of information. We've got their price, where I'd rank them by value. You've got their points per 90, XGI per 90, and also their team's XGC, so whether they're good attacking or whether they're good defending. And then you've got their predicted points from Fantasy Football Scout over the next 6. If you want to look at all the data that I get from this, you can check it out with the link in the description. And they are ranked in my order of preference. So I've gone with Daniel Munoz in at number 1. Back-to-back doubles for Crystal Palace. Then, of course, the blank. I just really like his attacking data, and you can see he has the best attacking data out of any on the list. Then I'm going with Saliba just about over Gvardiol, just because the defensive data for Arsenal is so good. Now, I have got Timber quite low down this list, just because with the Champions League, with Ben White being back, with Calafiori being back, with Kivior filling in well at centre-back, I'm just not certain Timber definitely plays every single game, and that's why he's a little bit lower down. If you can go and buy Saliba, I would, because he feels very much more nailed. I would go Gvardiol next if you've got the money. He's actually predicted to be the highest scoring player over the next 6 game weeks from all of the defenders in the game at the moment. Then it is Burn. I've gone with Burn over Livramento again. I still think that Burn is more likely to deliver a 15-pointer, although it was Livramento this week that did really well. And to be honest, if you've got one, you're probably not swapping between them. Contra is next, just based off purity of fixtures, but actually he ranks quite low down for a lot of the data. His attacking data is really poor. Their actual defensive data is not great. His points per 90 is the worst of all the ones here. He's fine as a cheap stopgap, but I actually, in my team, regret a little bit buying him. There wasn't really anyone else for me to go and buy, but I don't love him as much as I thought I would. Then it is Timber. Then I've gone with Luca Dean. Again, just rotation that we saw again with the Champions League. I'm almost certain he won't play that Southampton game. He's not a bad pick for the double once we get there, but the rotation means he's quite low down. Gone with Milenkovic out of the Nottingham Forest defenders, but you could also have a look at Williams if you need a cheaper one. And then it is Wan-Bissaka, purely for Southampton at home for the Game Week 33 bench boost if you're looking to play it. One name that I couldn't quite fit into this is Connor Bradley of Liverpool. 4.7 million. Should be starting at right back. I say it with a little bit of caution that I don't know if he definitely goes back for West Ham at home, but most of us have a benching headache this week anyway, so he'll probably start this week, but should definitely start Game Week 33. Again, if you're looking to bench boost that week, he's definitely one to consider at quite a cheap price. And then we're having a look at midfielders. Of course, Crystal Palace with the double-double means that Eze and Sarr are at the top. I have just gone with Eze first. His actual points per 90 is actually the worst out of all the players that we've got here. He's been great for underlying data, but actually his output has not been that good. He's reliant quite a lot on XA. His XG is actually not that high. That's because he takes a lot of shots from distance, and Eze's great at them, but from a data point of view, that doesn't tend to stand out. I don't think there's much between him and Sarr, and as I said, I wouldn't move between them. Then it is Gordon, although it does look like there's a decent chance that we might not see enough minutes from Gordon across the double to go and buy him. If we had confirmation that he was back, fully fit, available, I do prefer him to Murphy, but I'm not sure we're definitely going to go and get that. Murphy, brace hero for Monday night, is in at number 4. Just a very nice, reliable option. Very nice and cheap at just 5.1 million as well. Then we're going with Morgan Rogers. I think the value that Morgan Rogers offers is incredible. I do think there's a slight chance he doesn't start Southampton, although he does feel pretty indestructible. The amount of minutes he's played this season is crazy for someone's first proper season in the Premier League. I just would be a little bit cautious buying him for Southampton this week, because I do think that Villa team could make 10, even 11 changes from the PSG game. Then it is Saka. Now, at time recording, as I said at the beginning of this video, Saka has gone off early with a slight limp. Now, we've seen it from Saka before and he's turned out okay. I do think there's a decent chance he doesn't start Brentford at home, but for the doubling Game Week 33, I think he'll be really popular given we assume that he'll be available. In terms of data, his assist threat is crazy high. His goal threat is really good. We saw it from the sort of Champions League game. That's what I'm trying to get out. Also, the corners that he was taking. He's predicted to score the most points here. He's got the best points per 90. His value is a little bit lower just because of how expensive he is. I don't necessarily think this is a good week to buy him, but I do think for the double in 33, you'll want him. Savino is my Manchester City pick. And then outside of Rodgers at Villa, I'm really intrigued by Daniel Marlin. And the reason that's important is he's not in the European squad. He will not play against PSG, which is why he's above Rashford. Now, if Rashford or Asensio don't start PSG, good chance they do start Southampton because someone has to play that game. Marlin's XG per 90 is actually really good when he does get on the pitch, although he's not always nailed to play as many minutes. But Marlin is a really interesting differential. The only issue is once we get to Game Week 35 onwards, he might be an issue because he's probably only going to play whilst they're in the Champions League. And then the final one, as a bit of a punt, you could look at Martinelli, you could look at Marino, just to discuss a few other Arsenal midfielders. Marino scored in the Champions League. Martinelli looked incredibly good as well. A couple of differentials. We don't know where Marino's going to play, though. He did drop into midfield for their Game Week 31 fixture. That's why I've gone with Martinelli as number 10. Then just having a look at forwards, and is there any reason not to own the front line of Mateta, Isak, Marmoush? I do just think these are the best 3 forwards to own. Mateta and Isak, of course, doubling this week, and then Mateta and Marmoush doubling next week. If you're going with double Crystal Palace midfielders, or for example in Game Week 33, you'll look to sell Isak. Just a few names to throw out there. You've got Strand Larsen. The only issue is Cunha is back now, who might steal some of his chances. Then you've got Welbeck and João Pedro with Leicester at home this week, West Ham at home in 34 if you're not free hitting. Issue is, we think both will play, but João Pedro missed out. Welbeck's not started all of the games. Evan Nilsson has been good, been scoring goals while Kluivert has been out, but the next 3 fixtures and the long-term fixtures are not quite as good. Vista and Brentford will be really appealing from 33, 34, 35 onwards, but again, Arsenal away this week is not great. And Watkins, I think there's a real chance he doesn't play Southampton. Let's see how many minutes he gets in the Champions League. It might be one to look out because, of course, they double in game week 33 and then blank in game week 34. So I think a lot of people will look at Isak to Watkins in 33, but I still think there's a lot of concern around that. So I generally think that Mateta, Isak, Marmoush is just the best forward line. If you want to do something different, Watkins in 33 for the double. If not, it's probably João Pedro or Welbeck. Probably João Pedro still. A slightly different section, just a quick question on when I think is the best opportunity to use your chips left, because I was being asked about this a lot. If you have the triple captain and you plan on playing your bench boost in game week 33, I would triple captain Alexander Isak this week. If you are not bench boosting in game week 33, I still think that the triple captain Isak this week is better. You could play it on Marmoush, Everton away, Villa at home. You could try and put it on Saka, Ipswich away, Palace at home. In theory, if you don't play it in either of those opportunities, we might get a double in game week 36 if the game week 37 clashes with the FA Cup final get brought forward to the midweek. The only issue with that is it'll be the midweek before an FA Cup final, so we won't even be able to guarantee that everyone plays twice in that fixture regardless. I just don't think I'd be running that risk. In theory, if there is no double, it would still be Southampton away for someone like a Marmoush, but if you're playing a chip in 33, I would just play it on Isak in game week 32. In terms of the bench boost, 33 is slightly better than 32. The only actual thing though, if you're bench boosting 32, you'll save transfers in game week 33 because everyone bench boosting in 33 will have to sell their Newcastle defender, probably Murphy and maybe Isak, because they go away to Aston Villa with a single game week, which isn't great to bench boost. Whereas if you bench boost 32, you can probably just leave a lot of those on your bench. So it is something to consider. I do prefer 33 if you've set up better for it, but if you're looking at your bench this week and really like it, then I would consider it. Outside of that, 36 if we get a double, if not 37 with the singles does look quite good. Assistant manager, of course you can play it this week if you're not free hitting in game week 34, but if you plan on free hitting in game week 34, I would definitely save the chip and play it in game week 35 or 36. Free hit 34 is more important than playing the assistant manager this week. 35 I quite like because Palace have Nottingham Forest at home, which should be table bonus and could be a great opportunity for 20 points, if not in game week 36. And finally, just to wrap up, talking about a few transfers, would I do Foden to Rodgers? Again, generally buying Rodgers, generally buying Aston Villa ones. I don't feel I can confidently answer that until we see the lineup on Wednesday night. And if Rodgers starts that, I don't think I can confidently recommend buying him because I do think there's a decent chance Villa will make 8, 9, 10 changes for Southampton because of the PSG game. So right now, I'd probably say no. Keep an eye on how many minutes they all play on Wednesday night. Would I do Gabriel to a defender or just roll the transfer? With most of you having a benching headache this week defensively, I probably would just roll, get a little bit more extra information on maybe which Arsenal defender you want to buy. Is Connor Bradley back? Is Aston Villa going to rotate? Who goes through in the Champions League? Is there predicted to be doubles in game week 36, for example? Because if Spurs, for example, go out of Europe, the prediction for doubles in game week 36 will probably vanish, and that might change a little bit who you buy. So I also don't think with Arsenal focusing on the Champions League that there's a good chance of them keeping a clean sheet. So if you don't have to sell Gabriel this week, I probably wouldn't. And the final one is which Crystal Palace, for those of you on assistant manager, which Crystal Palace player would I sell for Glasner and which Newcastle player would I sell for Eddie Howe? Generally, I still favour selling the defender, although the midfielder options, I wouldn't sell the forwards, full stop. I wouldn't sell Isak. I wouldn't sell Mateta. I still think I'd probably sell the defender in either Munoz because I don't like the fixtures for a clean sheet. Then I'd probably sell Sarr. If you've got Eze, I'm almost certain I wouldn't go and sell him. Probably would sell Munoz, although going to someone like a Konza isn't that great. But again, in Newcastle, I would be keeping hold of Murphy. If you've got Anthony Gordon, I'd probably sell him because the chance of him playing both in the double feels quite low at the moment. But generally, I would favour selling the defender. So that is a lot of players to buy. We'll be back tomorrow with my team selection where I've got to decide one of my players who I don't want to start and I don't think starts this week. Which of them am I going to play this week? We'll talk about all of that. Drop any questions you have in the comment section down below. Hopefully answer as many of them in the team selection video, if not in the complete guide final decisions video on Friday afternoon as well. Thank you all for watching. 2,000 likes is the aim. Subscribe if you are new around here, and I'll be back again very soon.